Om Namo Bhagavate Ramachandraya. Om Namo Bhagavate Ramachandraya. Om Namo Bhagavate Ramachandraya. Om Namo Bhagavate Ramachandraya. So, last Sunday, on the 3rd, I did a class on Lord Ram for the devotees of Chosica, Peru, and Lima, Peru. So there were certain things that I didn't have time to speak of. So there are some very nice excerpts that I found in the Chaitanya Charitamrita glorifying Lord Ram. And hopefully it will put you in the mood for Sunday's Ram Navami. May Lord Ram, may Sita Ram bless you and protect all of you. So here is one nice verse that was actually quoted by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Sakrid eva prapano yas tabasmiti cha yachate abhayang sarvada tasmai dadami etad vratang mama. So this shloka actually appears in Ramayana, and it was spoken by Lord Ram. The translation is, I always give confidence and security to anyone who surrenders unto me and decides definitely that he or she is my eternal servant, for that is my natural inclination. It is my vow that if one only once seriously surrenders unto me, saying, My dear Lord Ram, from this day I am yours, and then prays for me for courage, I shall immediately award courage to that person, and one will always remain safe from that time. So, I would like all of you to recite with me the line. Recite with me. My dear Lord, from this day I am yours. My dear Lord Ram, from this day I am yours. My dear Lord, from this day I am yours. O Lord Ram, please give me courage. Now Prabhupada comments, similarly, Lord Krishna says in Bhagavad Gita, Daivihi Esha Gunamayi Mama Maya Duratyaya Mam Eva Ye Prapadyante Mayam Etang Tarantite. The influence of the material nature is virtually insurmountable. But anyone who surrenders to Krishna can very easily overcome the influence of material nature. So, there is an interesting purport that I discovered in the Chaitanya Charitamrita. The context is that Lord Chaitanya is touring South India after taking sannyas. He wanted to go to Vrindavan, but instead he first did a tour, 6 years of preaching in South India and spreading his Hare Krishna movement in South India. So, visiting one temple in South India, there is this nice purport Prabhupada gave us. In the book known as Adhyatma Ramayana, there are statements in chapters 12 to 15 about worshipping deities of Sri Ram and Sita. There it is stated that during Lord Ramachandra's time, there was a Brahmana who took a vow to fast until he saw Lord Ramachandra. Sometimes due to business, Lord Ram was absent from his capital, sometimes for a full week, and could not be seen by the citizens during that time. Now, because of his vow, this Brahmana would not take even a drop of water for that whole week. Later, after 8 or 9 days, when the Brahmin could actually see Lord Ram personally, then the Brahmana would break his fast. So upon observing the Brahmana's rigid vow, Lord Ram ordered his younger brother Lakshman to deliver a pair of Sita Ram deities to this Brahmana. So this is why I find it fascinating. Here is Lord Ram on the planet, and already prior to his appearance, there are deities of Sita Ram, but it gets better. The Brahmana received the deities from Sri Lakshman and worshipped them faithfully as long as he lived. At the time of his death, the Brahmana delivered these deities to Sri Hanumanji, who for many years hung them around his neck and served them with all devotion. And after many years, when Hanumanji departed on the hill known as Gandhamadana, Hanumanji delivered these same deities to Bhimasen, one of the Pandavas, and Bhimasen brought them to his palace, where he kept them very carefully. The last king of the Pandava dynasty, namely Kshemakanta, worshipped these deities in his palace. Later, these same deities were kept in the custody of the kings of Orisha, who were known as Gajapatis. And one of the acharyas, known as Narahari Tirtha, who was in the disciplic succession of Madhva Acharya, received these deities from the king of Orisha. It may be noted that these particular deities of Ram and Sita have been worshipped from the time of King Ikshvaku. Now, by the way, that means millions of years ago. Indeed, they were worshipped by the royal princes even before the appearance of Lord Ramachandra. Later, during Lord Ramachandra's presence, these deities were worshipped by Lakshman. Because you remember, it was just said Ram told Lakshman to give those deities to the Brahman. So Lakshman was worshipping these deities. And it is said that just 3 months before his disappearance, Sri Madhva Acharya received these deities and installed them in the Udupi temple. And since then, the deities have been worshipped by the Madhva Acharya Sampradaya at that monastery. As far as the Sri Vaishnavas are concerned, beginning with Ramanuja Acharya, they also worship deities of Sita Ram. Sita Ram deities are also presently being worshipped in Tirupati and other places in India. From the Sri Ramanuja Sampradaya, there is another branch known as Ramanandi or Ramat, and the followers of that branch also worship deities of Sita Ram very rigidly. The Ramanuja Sampradaya Vaishnavas preferred the worship of Lord Ramachandra to that of Radha and Krishna. Now, of course, in ISKCON, we are in the Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. So, although our Sampradaya is called the Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya, we worship Radha Krishna, as well as Jagannath and In some temples in ISKCON, they have Sitaram deities as well. But primarily ISKCON worships Radha Krishna, Jagannath, Krishna Balaram, and Gaur-Nitai. So I sang a mantra from the Dash Avatar Stotram. Vitarasi Dikshurane Dikpati Kamaniyang Dashamukha Mauli Balim Ramaniyam Keshavadrita Rama Sharira Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare Jaya Jagadisha Hare. Here is the translation. O Keshava, O Lord of the universe, O Lord Hari, you have assumed the form of Ramachandra. All glories to you. In the battle of Lanka, you destroy the 10-headed demon Ravana, and you distribute his heads as a delightful offering to the presiding deities of the 10 directions, headed by Indradeva. And this action was long desired by all of them, who were very much harassed by this monster Ravana. Now, in the Srimad Bhagavatam, there are a few key verses describing and glorifying Lord Ram. In the first canto, in the 3rd chapter, Sutta Goswami is answering the questions of the sages of Naimisharanya. And in the 3rd chapter of the 1st canto, Sutta Goswami explains about 20 different avatars or incarnations. So here it says, in the 18th incarnation, the Lord appeared as King Ram in order to perform some pleasing work for the demigods. Ram exhibited superhuman powers by controlling the Indian Ocean and then killing the atheist king Ravana, who was on the other side of the ocean. Then, in the 2nd canto, Lord Brahma is explaining to his best son, Narada. Narada is considered, Lord Brahma has 10 special sons, and Narada, the 10th, is considered his best. So Lord Brahma is also explaining in the 2nd canto so many different incarnations of Krishna. And when he gets now most of the incarnations, he just speaks one shloka. But when it comes to Lord Ram, all of a sudden Lord Brahma comes up with 3 different verses. So here are those verses. Due to his causeless mercy upon all living entities within the universe, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Ram, along with his plenary extensions, appeared in the family of Maharaj Ikshvaku as the Lord of his internal potency, Sita. Under the order of his father, Maharaj Dasharatha, Ramachandra entered the forest and lived there for considerable years, along with his wife and younger brother Lakshman. Ravana, who was very materially powerful, with 10 heads on his shoulders, committed a great offense against Ramachandra and was thus ultimately vanquished. The personality of Godhead Ramachandra, being aggrieved for his distant intimate friend Sita, glanced over the city of the enemy Ravana with red-hot eyes like those of Hara, Lord Shiva, who once wanted to burn the kingdom of heaven. The great ocean, trembling in fear, gave Ramachandra his way because its family members, the aquatics like the sharks, snakes, and crocodiles were being burnt by the heat of the angry red-hot eyes of Lord Ram. And when Ravana was engaged in the battle, the trunk of the elephant which carried the king of heaven Indra broke into pieces, having collided with the chest of Ravana, and the scattered broken parts illuminated all directions. Ravana therefore felt proud of his prowess and began to loiter in the midst of the fighting soldiers, thinking himself the conqueror of all directions. But Ravana's laughter, overtaken by joy, along with his very air of life, suddenly ceased with the tinkling sound of the bow of Ramachandra, the personality of Godhead. So, in the 9th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, Shukadeva Goswami tells Maharaj Parikshit that you have already heard so much about Lord Ram from other great saints and rishis. So I'm only going to give you a quick synopsis of the Ram Leela. So only 2 chapters in the Bhagavatam deal with Lord Ram. We are studying Krishna book, and that's 90 chapters, 90. So you can see Shukadeva Goswami is placing much great emphasis on Krishna. But for Ram, he only has 2 chapters. So I'm going to go to the scene that we just heard where Ravana is dying. So here is the excerpt from 9th canto. When Ravana, the king of the Rakshasas, observed that his soldiers had been lost, Ravana became extremely angry. He mounted his airplane, which was decorated with flowers, and proceeded toward Lord Ramachandra, who was sitting on an effulgent chariot brought by Matali, the chariot driver of Indra. Then Ravana struck Lord Ramachandra with sharp arrows. Lord Ram then said to Ravana, "You are the most abominable of the man-eaters. Indeed, you are like their stool. You resemble a dog. For as a dog steals eatables from the kitchen in the absence of the householder, in my absence you kidnapped my wife Sita Devi. Therefore, as Yamaraj punishes sinful men, I shall also punish you. You are most abominable, sinful, and shameless. Therefore, today, I, whose attempt never fails, shall punish you." After thus rebuking Ravana, Lord Ramachandra fixed an arrow to his bow, aimed at Ravana, releasing the arrow, which pierced Ravana's heart like a thunderbolt. And upon seeing this, Ravana's followers raised a tumultuous sound, crying, "Alas! Alas! Oh, what has happened? What has happened?" Just then, Ravana, vomiting blood from his 10 mouths, fell from his airplane, just as a pious man falls to earth from the heavenly planets when the results of his pious activities are exhausted. I have a few more minutes. I'd like to read to you some more excerpts from the Chaitanya Charitamrita. So there's one incident again. Lord Chaitanya is touring South India, and he meets a Brahmana. And the Brahmana invites Lord Chaitanya to his home and cooks for him. And this Brahmana, he hardly says anything. All he does all day is simply chant the name Ram, Ram, Ram. So, after Lord Chaitanya visited and took prasad, Lord Chaitanya left. But after some time, Lord Chaitanya again visited that same Brahmana. But now, the Brahmana was constantly chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. So after finishing his lunch, Lord Chaitanya asked the Brahmin, "My dear friend, kindly tell me what your position is now. Because formerly you were constantly chanting the holy name of Lord Ram. Why are you now constantly chanting the holy name of Krishna?" The Brahmana then replied to Lord Chaitanya, "Oh, this is all due to your influence, my dear sir. For after seeing you, I have lost my lifelong practice. From my childhood, I have been chanting the holy name of Lord Ramachandra. But upon seeing you, I began to chant the holy name of Lord Krishna just once. But since then, the holy name of Krishna has been tightly fixed upon my tongue. Indeed, since I started chanting the holy name of Krishna, the holy name of Lord Ram has gone far away. Now, from my childhood, I have been collecting the glories of the holy name from the revealed scriptures. Ramante yogino nante satyanande chid atmani iti Rama padena sao parang brahma bhatyate. The supreme absolute truth is called Ram because transcendentalists take pleasure in the unlimited true pleasure of spiritual existence. Krishir bhu vachaka shabdo nascha nivritti vachakaha tayo aikyang parang brahma Krishna iti abhidiyate. The word Krishna is the attractive feature of the Lord's existence, and the word na means spiritual pleasure. So when the verb krish is added to the affix na, it becomes Krishna, which indicates the absolute truth. Now, my dear Lord, I must inform you that as far as the holy names of Ram and Krishna are concerned, actually, they are on an equal level. But for more further advancement, we receive some specific information from the revealed scriptures. Ram, Rameti, Ramete, Rame, Rame, Manorame, Sahasra Nama Bestulyang, Ramanama Varanane. Lord Shiva addressed his wife Durga, "O Varanana, I chant the holy name Rama, 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 and thus I enjoy this beautiful sound. Indeed, this holy name of Ramachandra is equal to 1,000 holy names of Lord Vishnu. Sahasra namnang punyanang trir avritya tu yat phalam ekavritya tu krishnasya namaikang tat prayachyati." However, the pious results derived from chanting the 1,000 holy names of Vishnu 3 times can be attained only by one utterance of the holy name of Krishna. So let's go over the math. 1,000 names, the Vishnu Sahasranam, which takes so much time, you get the same benefit just by saying once Ram. And if you say Rama 3 times, Rama, 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 you get the same benefit just by saying Krishna. The Brahmin then continued to speak to Lord Chaitanya. So according to the statement of the Shastras, the glories of the holy name of Krishna are unlimited. Still, I could not chant Krishna's holy name. And please hear the reason for this. My worshipful Lord has been Lord Ramachandra, and by chanting his holy name, I received happiness. And because I received such happiness, I chanted the holy name of Lord Ram day and night. However, by your appearance, Lord Krishna's holy name also appeared in my heart. And at that time, the glories of Krishna's name awoke. Oh, my sir, you must be that Lord Krishna himself. That is my conclusion. And saying this, the Brahmana fell down at the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. After showing mercy to the Brahman, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu left the next day and arrived at Vridakashi, where he visited the temple of Lord Shiva. Hey Ram, Hey Ram.